Written by Bret Michaels, Something to Believe In was released on Poison's 1990 album Flesh and Blood. The song was track number 11 on the album and the second single to be released from Flesh and Blood. Something to Believe In touches on a couple of themes throughout the song. The Vietnam vets, which Bret Michaels has a huge respect for, the homeless, and one of the main inspirations for him writing the song, the loss of his very good friend.
My best friend died, a lonely man, in a Palm Springs hotel room.
By the time the tour had finished for Poison's second album, Open Up and Say Ah, the band and the road crew had become like one big family. James Chemo Mano, or Chemo as he was known, was a bodyguard for Poison and was one of the main inspirations behind the song. It was around 6 months before the release of Flesh and Blood, in December of 1989, that Bret's friend Chemo was found dead in his hotel room.
And I wrote this right after one of my very, very best friends passed away. His name was Chemo, and this song, it saved my life. It truly did. I was very emotional at that time, very troubled, very depressed, knowing I'd lost my best friend over Christmas. And so music truly was therapeutic in helping me to be able to deal with it.
Bret got the phone call on Christmas Eve telling him that his friend had died, and it just drove him over the edge. He locked himself in his room and did not come out until the song was finished. The result is an incredibly powerful song, emotionally, spiritually, one of Poison's very best. It goes down and is well known as that. As we say, not only for the loss of Bret's good friend, but also the references to Vietnam and the homeless as well. The song has been incredibly successful for the band. It peaked at number 4 on the US Billboard Hot 100, racking up yet another top 10 hit for the band, and is certified gold with sales of 500,000 in the US. The music video for the song was especially powerful and just a masterpiece of a video. When making the video, the director had inserted footage of Bret's friend Chemo on the screen in front of him without Bret knowing about it. It was said it was done to try to evoke an emotional response from Michaels. Well, it worked so well, in fact, that Michaels lost his composure and he had to leave the set for several hours. And in the final cut of the video where Bret's friend appears on the screen, you can visually see him holding back tears as he stops singing in that part.
And I wrote so many lyrics and so many verses to it that it was just, the song's like a 6 or 7 minute long song. I think it's 6 minutes long, and I never thought radio would play it, but I felt a need to put it on the album, and especially a need to release it as a hit, especially the band felt that way. And when we did the video, I was real emotional and stuff like that, and I'm glad it did very well. I think a lot of people, the reason the song becomes popular, you can't force it. It's just a matter of people relating to the song, and I think it was something to believe in. A lot of people related to some of the things I was feeling.
Something to Believe In was recorded in the early parts of 1990 at the Little Mountain Sound Studios in Vancouver, British Columbia, as part of the Flesh and Blood sessions. The song was produced by Bruce Fairbairn, who was working with AC/DC on their record, The Razor's Edge, at around the same time. AC/DC, of course, one of Bret Michaels' very favorite bands. And there was an alternate take to Something to Believe In as well, as Bret Michaels talks about here.
And you have an acoustic version coming out as a B-side.
Yeah, and there's just more lyrics. It's not the same lyrics, it's a completely different song, just the same chorus.
So the alternate take to Something to Believe In was originally released as the B-side to the Life Goes On single. And as Bret said there, it has completely different lyrics. It's an acoustic version. And you can also find that on the Poison compilation album Best of Ballads and Blues. The song opens with piano played by Poison's Bobby Dahl. Then we go into the first verse of the song, followed up by verse 2. And this is where the drums and the guitar kick in. Then we hit the first chorus. Then we go into verse 3. This is the part which is specifically dedicated to Bret's friend Chemo. Then we hit a second chorus. Then we have some post-chorus lyrics which lead into the solo. Then we come back into the fourth and final verse where Bret Michaels is talking about the homeless and the poor versus the rich. Then we go into a final, very much lengthened chorus with various backing vocals, etc. As we have discussed, the song is a very emotional one and the lyrics reflect that. The opening part of the song talks about people who are in important positions in the world and how they are hypocrites and how they abuse their power, stating, well, I see him on the TV preaching about the promised lands. He tells me believe in Jesus and steals the money from my hands. Then the second verse references the Vietnam War. The story goes that a cousin of Bret's was wounded in the Vietnam War. The verse reads, 22 years of mental tears, cries a suicidal Vietnam vet who fought a losing war on a foreign shore to find his country didn't want him back. The third verse, as we say, is very much dedicated to Bret Michaels' friend Chemo. It reads, my best friend died a lonely man in some Palm Springs hotel room. I got the call last Christmas Eve, and they told me the news. I tried all night not to break down and cry. As the tears rolled down my face, I felt so cold and empty, like a lost soul out of place. Very much a soulful verse here in the final verse of the song. Bret says, I drive by the homeless, sleeping on a cold dark street, like bodies in an open grave. Underneath the broken old neon sign, it used to read, Jesus saves. And the chorus of the song, give me something to believe in, if there's a Lord above. Give me something to believe in, O Lord, arise. So this one, as we say, one of Poison's very best. An amazing song from the band, very much dedicated to his good friend Chemo, who passed away, but also touches on a couple of other subjects there as well. Bret would get a tattoo of something to believe in on his arm, which he dedicated to his friend Chemo. Unfortunately, when the tattoo was originally done, there was a misspelling. However, on season 1 of the television series Rock of Love, Bret Michaels would fix this mistake, getting the tattoo redone. A very emotional experience for him indeed. So, a totally awesome tune. If you're out there and you haven't checked this one out before, I would definitely recommend it. Easy to find here on YouTube. It's Poison with the awesome Something to Believe in.
Give me something to believe in. If there's a Lord above, you give me something to believe in.